Now comes the challenging part of the creation of expenses. Notice we didn't say managing expenses. Expenses are things that we create. And those expenses that we create are a direct result of things that we believe that we need and or want. And now the question becomes, where does that sense of or belief of necessity or desire, where does that come from? Well, if we were to take an example, if we were to live in a forest as opposed to, let's say, New York City, our belief systems and our value systems would be most likely different, right? So in the forest, having internet or believing that internet is some kind of necessity for everyday living may be different from somebody who lives in New York City, right? So at this point, we've been talking about concepts, theories, perspectives on how we can make more money in a capitalistic, consumer-driven society. And on this journey, we're going to need certain tools to make this process easier for us. And one of the most basic tools in terms of making more money is a calculator. And I'm going to introduce you to this free tool called MolFSoft Free Calc. Let me just make this a little bigger for you guys. MolFSoft Free Calc, you can download this at www.molfsoft.com. That's MOFF soft.com. They're a Kansas-based company that provides this as a free download. So you just go to the tabbed section here, press download, and you can download it from these two mirror sites, right? And what I also like about it is it's a very, very small file. It doesn't take a lot of space on your computer. So once we have it downloaded, we have this pretty powerful tool. So, props to you guys at molfsoft.com for creating this free calculator that's very powerful and very useful. And one of the functions that I like about it is this ticker tape type of function, right? So if we were to do, like, let's say 6 times 6, we would get 36, right? If we were to then multiply that by 6, you see what happens there? It keeps the answer in the memory, and then it gives you this answer. Now, if we were to multiply by 600 or even 600,000, again, it's going to hold on to the answer, multiply by 600,000, and it's going to give us the answer, right? You can also clear the ticker tape by pressing CT. And you notice what I did when I was doing the 600,000, I didn't have to press 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? All I had to do was press 600 and then 1,000. So that saves us a lot of time. And then it also has all the basic functions of a calculator. But that's part of why this particular tool is very powerful, is that it has those two particular functions there, despite the fact that you can do square root, percentage, and fractional calculations, right? And next up is that we need to have a solid browser. A browser that I like in particular is Firefox. You can simply go to mozilla.org, and that is mozilla.org, and you can get Firefox. So over here you'll see that there's a button here that says Get Firefox. You press that, follow the instructions, and you download that onto your computer, right? Now, what is a web browser? Right? A web browser is something that is independent of the platform that you're on, more specifically the operating system. So if you're on a Mac or a PC or a Linux system, Linux-based system, you can use a browser such as Firefox or any internet browser, and you can gain access to information without being tied down to the requirements of that operating system. And so what this browser does, in a nutshell, is it takes coding and it deciphers it or renders it in the form of text or stylized text with hyperlinking capabilities. You notice that turns into a hand. It'll turn things into graphics, so it'll pull graphics off of their server, like this kid with the eye patch. I really like that eye patch there. And it gives you this information that's visually displayed in front of you, and that's what we want. We want information that we can readily access anywhere on our handhelds, on any internet connection around the world without having to be tied down even to our own laptops. We can go to an internet cafe. We can simply go on our handhelds. We can utilize someone else's computer, like a friend or a family member, in order to gain access to this information. So where do we input or access information online for free? Well, that's simple. Google has a myriad of products that we can use, and that's what we're going to be using today. So in the Google search toolbar, we're going to search Google accounts, and we're going to just simply create a Google account. All right, so we go to Google accounts. If you don't have one, you're going to have to go over here and you're going to have to create an account and go through this entire mess. Fortunately, we've just created one. It's called thebangmoney@gmail.com, and let me type in the password here. Okay, we're in. So in this account, thebangmoney@gmail.com, you're going to see we're going to focus on the product line called Docs, which is short for documents. You can either access through it right here once you first log in under My Products, or you can go into this linked tab section on the header, and you notice that it's not there, but you can also go to More and you'll see that it's here, so that's a second way to access it. Or you can go to Even More, and here you can see all of Google's product lines. They even have things like this thing called SketchUp where you can build 3D models. But we're just going to focus on Docs, and Docs gives you that ability to create and share your online documents, presentations, and spreadsheets. So big up props to Google. You guys are creating great products for us to use online anywhere. So we're going to click Google Docs, and we come into this subdirectory of the Google accounts, right? It's called Google Docs. Here we can create collections of documents. What we're going to look for in particular is this thing called personal budget. We're going to focus on the personal side of the creation of expenses rather than go into the business side of the creation of the expenses, which we'll talk about at a later point in this series. Now, look what happens. If we search Docs, we're going to see that no items match our selection because we're searching within our documents, within our own Google Docs, within this account. But we can search, if we click this down arrow button, here, let me make that a little bigger. If we click this down arrow button, we're going to see Search Public Templates. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to search the public repository of templates. And there's this company, vertex42.com. And, you know, again, big props to these guys for making just great product. You know, you can just tell that just by using this template, once we get to it, that these guys are putting great product out there for us to use. And why are we using a template? Because templates save us time. Time costs us money. We're using this free calculator. We're not building one from scratch because it's going to save us time. And both of these two, this calculator and this template, are both free. So we just created a zero expense for a calculator and for a template. More importantly, in terms of time, because time does cost us money, and we'll get to the calculation of how time costs us money further down this series. So we're just going to simply click use this template. We're going to wait for the connection. There it goes. Let's just clean up the workspace a little bit here. Organize. All right, good. We can call this whatever we want. So this operates just like, let's say, Microsoft Excel. So we can call this, you know, weekly. We can call this annual, whatever you want to call it. But let's just keep it monthly for now, all right? And what I like about it is that it has this thing called projected and actual. And if we were to actually get a little bit closer in there, we'll see, let's get even closer. we'll see is that in the monthly budget summary, we have this thing called, we have these three columns, right? It's called projected, actual, and the difference between these two. All right. Then it has these rows: total income, total expense, and this is actually net income. So let's just change that. And so projected is something that we project to happen sometime in the future, right? So we're projecting what's coming in, or what we think is going to come in the future, and what we think is going to go out in sometime in the future, right? And then this is actually what happens. And the common mistake that people make